Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Josh, you ready? All right, Linda.
The Public Safety Standing Committee meeting is called to order. It is 6:30, and we will have the roll call at this time. Alderwoman O'Neill.
Present.
Alderman Gay, not present. And yours truly, Chair Rhonda Pendell Charles. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda should be made here, and there is a motion to move the legislation by request to the top of the list. And after that, we'll go, and also for the approval of the minutes, we can't approve the minutes for January today because Alderwoman O'Neill was not here. So we will move that as adjustment to the agenda.
I move to adjust the agenda as suggested.
All in favor?
Aye.
I hear no disapproval. Okay, moving on to business and miscellaneous. Approval of minutes, Public Safety Committee, 11/13/24, special meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve 11/13/24 meeting minutes.
So moved, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I hear no nays. General discussion, but we're going to move on to the legislation, 03224, fire sprinkler system requirement clarification. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Alderwomen. Nathan Powell, Deputy Chief of Operations, Annapolis Fire. With me is,
Charles Ruth, Fire Protection Engineer for the Fire Department.
All right, good to see you, gentlemen. We have the first reader, legislative summary, fiscal impact note, staff report, and one amendment from the Rules and City Government Committee, and Alderwoman Finlayson is here. Alderwoman O'Neill, have you had an opportunity to take a look at this piece of legislation?
I did. It is really just tying up loose ends, correct, from what we passed in 2022?
That is correct, that's my understanding.
correct, it just aligns some of the language and verbiage with current practice and up-to-date codes.
Okay.
Great.
Any comments from you all?
The only comment we'll have, just as a point of reference, that the amendment submitted by the City Rules and Government Committee, current Maryland State Fire Prevention Code does not give the Annapolis Fire Marshal's Office the authority to require a sprinkler retrofit in an existing single-family dwelling. So we adopt that fire code with certain amendments. So we would also need a legislative action to capture that into our amendments of how we do business in the city. So that's just as a point was all.
So is there a request here for something for us to do, or?
At this point, ma'am, I think no. It was just a point of order for us that the way I interpret this document would not necessarily encompass that amendment into Chapter 17, Title 17 in the City Code, which is our fire protection section. We would just need to enumerate that as well into that section of the City Code.
So is that something you're going to do in the future, or I guess I'm a bit confused?
So basically what he's saying is Title 17 is also going to have to be amended to include the permission for us to allow for, or to require single-family residences to be retrofitted with sprinklers. So if this amendment is passed, then another revision to the city code under Title 17 would have to be introduced before, I think it's 2027 is the deadline, but before we start requiring people to install sprinklers into their single-family residences. So sooner rather than later, of course, but it's not necessarily prohibitive of this unless the council does not introduce an ordinance at a later date.
So you're not asking or looking for us to make an amendment tonight, is that correct, or you are?
Well, the amendment, you couldn't, it depends on what your desires are. An amendment wouldn't change what needs to be changed. You'd have to have a whole new ordinance, basically. Because it's not amending this particular provision that's up for, on the bill. It's under Title 17, it's totally a different section of the code. So it could be done by a different ordinance. It just would have to be requested by a council member.
Okay. All right, well, we can proceed on this and then get to that later on
Yes,
in a
yes, ma'am.
timely manner.
As Ms. Berger said, we have till 2027 before the deadlines begin to approach. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that piece
Yes,
of
ma'am.
additional information. Okay, are we ready to vote on the amendment?
I move we give a favorable recommendation for the amendment to 3224.
Second, all in favor? Aye. I hear no opposition, so moved. And make a motion to make a favorable recommendation on 03224 as amended. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. I hear no opposition, and the motion carries. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Next on the agenda is general discussion, ID 3425, Annapolis Police Department update. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
I'm sorry. I'm just arriving a few minutes ago, but we trying to multitask and do several things. We're working on our presentation for the 65th anniversary of the first African-American officers that were hired, and we're still putting that together. And we want it to be very nice and very memorable, so we're working hard. As we talked about last time, my captain is going to be the mistress of ceremony, and I think we're almost there in terms of putting the entire program together.
Great,
And-
looking forward to it.
And some other things that we're doing. But I'll give you a real quick update. There's a couple of things I did this week. But first, before I start, of course, for the record, I'll introduce the two captains that are here with me. To my left is Captain Lamar Howard, Operations Commander, and to the right is, of course, Captain Amy Miguez. They both have been busy. Captain, for different reasons, Captain Miguez has been pretty busy with the budget, amongst other things, and the event that we're going to hold, and anything else that I asked her to do. He's been kind of busy. And then, of course, Lamar is overseeing the investigations that are progressing in reference to the homicide that occurred last week, and the shooting that's been solved that occurred a couple of days before that, the Heritage Park shooting. So that's pretty much where we're at. So I guess we'll start with that slide, I guess, Ward 4, and we'll start with 2024 contact shootings. We had the one contact shooting on Newtown Drive. That was cleared by arrest. The other one was South Villa Avenue. And you see the demographics up there. The first one on Newtown Drive was a black male, 33 years of age, cleared by arrest. And the other one, South Villa Avenue, was a male, a white male, 17, cleared by arrest. And then the third one, Juliana Circle, I guess that was the discharge, and Bywater, Copeland Street discharged. And just as a sidebar, I think what I'm very proud of with the Annapolis Police Department's response to these contact shootings as well as the discharges, we go after both equally. A lot of jurisdictions that, their philosophy is nobody was hit, then we won't prioritize it, but we prioritize it for many reasons because of the potential for damage. We want to get the people off the street so they don't come back next time and hit somebody or make contact with somebody. So we go after them just as vigorously. And number two, at the core of what we do is protect life first and property second. And quite often with these non-contact shootings, there may not be a human being struck, but people's properties are quite often are damaged, their cars, their windows. And so we want to hold those people accountable in the court of law. Then you look at the second category, and let me know if I'm moving too fast. I don't mean to. Shots fired, and those are the locations from Royal Street, Copeland Street, Newtown Drive, Annapolis Walk Drive, and Annapolis Walk Drive again, 2 of them. So far in 2025, of course, on South Villa Avenue, we had a contact shooting that was cleared by arrest so far, and that doesn't discount the homicide that we had. The street, Holclaw Street the other day. If there's anything that you want to add to that. Yes, sir.
So I'll start with the 2024 contact shootings. Those incidents, especially the Newtown Drive, were specifically involving individuals in the open air drug market there in Newtown Drive, not being able to settle conflict like reasonable people should, bringing guns to the equation. The individual that we ended up charging with that incident actually shot himself, fleeing from the discharging at Newtown Drive. The one on Villa Avenue, pretty much the same. Juliana, which is right there in that geography of Newtown Drive, the same, it's open. We have developed a person of interest in that investigation as well. The only holdup with that is viable witnesses to identify this perpetrator. The triple on Bywater, Copeland, where the 3 juveniles were shot last year. We were able to track the suspect vehicle and recover the suspect vehicle in Washington, D.C. The suspects in that investigation, we've been able to identify them and develop them as persons of interest. But because of the way the incident occurred, with the suspects wearing masks, the case is clearly circumstantial. Again, viable witnesses to identify these individuals responsible for this act of violence. Again, young people not being able to settle conflict without involving guns into the equation. The shots fired, I'm not quite sure if some of the shots fired is the result of the contact shootings in 2024. I'll have to do a deeper dive in that. I'm almost certain that the one on Newtown Drive is involving the first non-fatal shooting. The Annapolis Walk Drive, we had an individual that was living with family members. He was targeted on multiple occasions. The reason why we had that particular address shot multiple times was because, again, young people not being able to settle conflict without involving guns. So we were able to get him away from Annapolis Walk and continue to work those investigations. And since then, we haven't had any more discharging in Annapolis Walk, more specifically at that location where this young man was residing. And of course, the contact shooting that we just had last week, kids playing with guns, accidentally shot this young man. We're very lucky that this didn't turn into a homicide, especially, knowing his injuries. Again, young people with handguns, playing with handguns and potentially could have took someone's life. So that case is closed, and we're hoping that as we push further into the summer, as we come out with our summer crime plan for 2025, we're hoping that we can mitigate some of last year's violence by knowing who the individuals, our players are, and also working with our federal partners with a potential long to midterm investigation to continue to send a message that we're serious about gun violence. And if you want to use a handgun here in Annapolis, pack your toothbrush.
And that segues nicely into something else I want to talk about. Captain Howard and I went 2 days ago and met with, in Queen Anne's County, we had a meeting with the feds. Queen Anne's County Sheriff's Department was the host, and we talked about the very things that Captain Howard just talked about. That same day, WJZ TV called me and they wanted to speak to me. I took the call and they asked what was driving the juvenile violence, not only in Annapolis, but, you know, Baltimore still continues to struggle with that as well. And I said, it's a couple of simple things that are social problems that we have to have a serious discussion about collectively, the schools, our high schools, our middle schools, our community leaders. I think what's not talked about enough is this glorification of violence. And I stand by it firmly that in popular culture and in art, violence is always at the center of it. I got criticized for talking about some of the characteristics of violent offenders when I said that they wear hoodies. And what people don't realize, the statistics shows it, and all the academic literature shows it, that it started out wearing the hoodies, like wearing a hoodie in July. And I'm giving a real life event that occurred last year in Bywater. It's a heat index of 100 degrees and 4 guys are walking with hoodies and their face covered. When it's that hot, it doesn't make common sense. In the old days, there was good, reasonable, articulable suspicion to suspect that crime was afloat and something was going to happen. I think what's happened is that we have to have an honest discussion about it. Good kids from good, stable families are fascinated because popular culture inculcates them with images through music, and I'm not talking about any particular genre of music, but through music and art, movies, we're constantly bombarded with violence, and there needs to be a discussion around that, a real discussion around that. And then we wonder why young people are infatuated with it. Then we make these weapons of destruction available as a society now. And then the police has to respond to it, but we don't have a say-so when it comes to we're heavily criticized when we talk about social commentary, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have all those things operating and then expect the police to be able to predict that it's going to happen and get in front of it before the crime occurs. It takes a community, and we're a community policing city, so that means that we have to come together and we have to talk about that in our schools. That's what I told WJZ in the interview yesterday. That we have to come together the day before yesterday. We have to come together with our schools, our educational institutions. But we have to have honest discussion. Parents have to have honest discussions with their children. I had expressed that to the mayor. I said, when they wear their hoodies, I'm not saying all kids with hoodies on are bad. What I am saying is that the kids who are good, who are getting high grades and achievements, they're young people. I was young once. Everybody at this table was young. We want to be popular. And if at the forefront of American culture, we glorify violence and constantly have these weapons of mass destruction in front of us, why are we surprised that young kids, 12 and 13-year-old, they're the cool guys. It's no longer the cool guy who's headed for Yale or Harvard. That's not cool. What's cool in many, especially urban cities that are underserved and over-policed, it's just idea that I'm so tough, I'm such a man that I'm willing to pull the trigger, and that's real. And we're still seeing it happen like what happened the other day. And so I just wanted to make that a part of my explanation as to why, and those are some of the things that I want to start as a police chief, leading those discussions and get answers from the community as to what they want to see done with this type of violence, so we can get together and do like community policing dictates that we do, that we co-labor And that's all collaboration means, is to co-labor with stakeholders to solve this very pressing and scary problem. So our federal partners, those are the kind of discussions we're having with them, and I will say that it appears that our commitment from the federal government to fight this kind of crime is still strong. That's what I got out of the meeting. I'm looking at my captain, I'm sorry, because I thought it was a very good meeting. And the feds are still committed to support us and helping us make Annapolis a safe street.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, uh-huh. Okay, we have NABRAs. I'll let Captain talk about that, but we always explain crime in terms of the uniform crime reports, and I've said that in previous times at the table. I'll say this real quick before I turn it over to the captain. We have crimes against persons and crimes against property. We've been focusing on that a lot. Under NABRAs, you have more categories. Under the old uniform crime reports, which we did for 100 years, there was a hierarchy of crimes and everything else was absorbed in those crimes. One quick example, if you had a murder, we would only count the murder. We wouldn't count all the other crimes that led up to the murder. We wouldn't count the lady that was walking down the street and she was abducted. That's one crime. Then when he dragged in the alley and sexually assaulted her, that's another crime. And then when he put the gun to her head, that's another crime. Then you pull the trigger, it's murder. We only counted murder. Now in the NABRAs, we count everything that leads up to that. It makes it appear that our crime numbers have gone up, and we have far more categories that we'd be here half the night. Because they have everything from now, we count everything from crimes against persons, to crimes against property, all the way up into crimes against humanity, like hate crimes and other forms, human trafficking and all that. So we track all of that if it's in the city of Annapolis. So we're going to focus on the things that most Annapolitans and people who visit here is exposed to, and those two categories are crimes against persons versus crimes against property.
So as we look at the part ones, crimes against persons, Ward 4, we had no homicides last year, which is good, very good. We look at the rapes. When you break down the rapes, 2 were domestic, so which means that a partner sexually assaulted his partner or her partner in that category. And we had 1 known to the victim. So what that tells me in Ward 4, we don't have any sexual predators just walking around in Ward 4 raping women in the city, nowhere in the city as a matter of fact. But as far as the rapes, the suspect was known to the victims in all 3 incidents. The aggravated assaults, 21, 11, so about 50% were domestic, again, partner-on-partner crime. The locations, 12 were residents, 7 on the street, and 2 businesses. I'm assuming that the businesses were more than likely probably some of the pubs and some of the bars. I would have to do a deeper dive to identify what those 2 businesses were. The robberies, again, 4 domestic. So the suspect was known to the victim, a partner, committing the robberies. 5 were done by hands and 1 utilizing a firearm. Burglaries, crimes against persons, we had 11, again, 4 domestic. So the suspect and the victim knew each other. 6 residential, no force, 5 residential with force. And basically force is just basically either kicking in a door or breaking a window, forcing your way into the residence. The thefts, again, crimes of opportunity from motor vehicles. Again, this is similar in every ward throughout the city. We put a lot of literature out, educating Annapolitans about securing your motor vehicles, removing all of your valuables, but yet and still, we still have a very high reporting as it relates to the thefts from motor vehicles. And it looks like a shotgun blast. When you pull up the screen and you look at all the data, it's all over the place. So again, we'll continue to put the information out, alerting citizens to how to protect themselves. It's just simple. Lock your car, take all the valuables out, and we can prevent a lot of these theft from motor vehicles. Shopliftings, people walking into convenience stores or what have you, taking a candy bar or some groceries and things of that nature. So our biggest area for the shoplifting, especially from the grocery stores, is probably on Forest Drive at the Safeway. From the building, 10 motor vehicle parts, 9 other. Again, thefts are crimes of opportunity. The majority of our suspects, especially for the thefts from the motor vehicles or citizens who are in the throes of addiction or mental illness, and they continue to do what they need to do in order to be able to purchase whatever it is that they need to continue that high. The motor vehicle thefts, we had 9 in Ward 4, 1 suspect known to the victim. Again, 4 unlocked, recovered, 3 locked, recovered, 2 locked, not recovered. So it's if we lock our doors, we take out our valuables, I believe that we can pretty much cut this in half across the city. And we'll continue to do our part. We'll continue to put the information out on our social media platforms as much as we need to until people get it and they start doing it, and just doing their part to stop them from being victimized by a crime of opportunity over and over and over again. And some of these thefts from autos, sometimes it's the same victims over and over and over and over again. So I don't want to continue to stand on my soapbox on this, but if we could just get a little assistance, lock your doors, remove all your valuables. I know sometimes when people are coming home from work, they're multitasking and they're busy, but just take the time to go back and make sure that your car is locked. Don't leave the spare key in the car. Don't leave $4,000 and $5,000 handbags in the car, cell phones, handguns, and I can go on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Just help us out a little bit, and we can see a tremendous drop in this particular crime going into 2025, finishing out 2025.
Alderman O'Neill has a question.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Not specific to this, but on the previous slide when, there was violence last weekend, it seemed that there was a little bit of a hiccup in informing people, the public. Have we worked that part out?
Yes, ma'am, and it was a hiccup. I'm not going to sit here and look you in the eye and say it wasn't, because it was a hiccup. Of course, we were trying to do the right thing and make it as efficient and effective as possible. But those glitches we're gonna fix, especially with the reverse 911. I think he's sitting behind me, OEM director Kevin Simmons, who's really brought that to us. He's going to work with my people and me to make sure that the right message gets out. For example, we both had talked and we had talked about the fact that it seemed like a loose killer was running around in that area. And I believe many people felt that when it wasn't. It was a targeted event. So those are the kind of things that we have to work on. And so we had a nice conversation centered around making it more efficient. But what what I lamented about last time that I was here is that not making excuses, but when we have those kind of things, quite often we're multitasking and we're trying to, make sure that the victim gets the right aid, that the preservation of life, of course, is our number one aim, and then two, to preserve the crime scene. But what we're going to do is work on continue to do those things. I mean, that's our oath, but also make sure that the flow of information is as efficient and timely as, so that everybody can appreciate what we're trying to do. So I apologize. I accept responsibility for that, but we'll work on that.
Sure. And I had questioned, I think Captain McGez, I had sent her an email asking about it. But the one that was the South Villa Drive one that happened on the playing field, I had tons of residents calling and contacting me, and there was a lot of chatter on social media that, it was an early dismissal day, but that doesn't mean that all the children were gone from schools, because there's after-school programs and things like that. Can we increase I think it was a mile radius of it that people were notified by phone. Can we increase that? Like, I had people saying, well, I work downtown and my child was at Bates, but we didn't know anything about it. And so can we increase the coverage, the radius of the coverage of those automatic phone calls?
That's a good question. Can we increase the rate of phone calls when the schools let out?
So it actually becomes kind of an FCC issue with the type of messaging we're doing, dependent on the situation and the amount of people we're trying to reach. And Director Simmons can kind of explain.
Yeah, this is not for like general messages. These systems, they're called community notification systems. People call it robocall, people call it reverse 911, but it's for emergencies in the community. It's for emergencies in the community when we use it for public safety. Now, sometimes we send out a message through finance that your water about to be shut off or something like that with these calls, but from a public safety standpoint, it's supposed to be used for an emergency, because we don't want people to be desensitized by getting all these messages all the time, and then it's just another message, and we don't pay attention to it. So when you get something from police, you get something from fire, you get something from the Office of Emergency Management, it's emergency and it's emergent in nature. And just to follow up on what the chief said, he's taking full responsibility. However, we had a problem with the vendor, Civic Ready. And the message did not go out as it was put out. The message was garbled. We have a meeting with them tomorrow. We have two meetings. They have a meeting with me tomorrow, and we have a meeting with OEM and the county and Civic Ready, because, we pay substantial funds for this process that we have, the community notification system. And when we use it, we expect it to work. And this is the second time it didn't work. The first time, about a year ago, when we had the escaped inmate, and we tried to put something out, and it did not go well. And then the other day, when we put something out, the message was garbled. Some people received it, some people didn't. So that's unacceptable. So they're going to hear a little bit from us tomorrow. And we need to rectify that problem. Questions?
Well, sort of. What I'm told is the shooting that took place that was on the playing field, that it was up to the public businesses, the school, the whatever that was closest to that, to get that message out. And that's where constituents are complaining, because not everybody that had a stake in it got the message. And so they're like, oh, there's this shooting, and very early on in it, we didn't know that somebody just drove up and shot somebody and drove away in a car. We didn't know at the time it was targeted. So there was a lot of worry from parents, and yes, it was an early dismissal day, so schools weren't letting out, which they would have been letting out right at the time of the shooting happening, but there were still children around, and there's people that walk around the park that weren't notified, or, so I'm just asking, like, can it be extended more than just the mile radius? And if it can be extended, and I understand that you don't want to send out a message all the time, but this one seems pretty important, that a shooting occurred, and there were people that live just outside of that mile radius that didn't know about it, but had a stake in it because their children were playing on the field or visiting a friend's house or something like to that matter.
So I will tell you that the system did not work as it was supposed to.
Okay.
Actually, it was a 3-mile radius. It was probably too much. It went to 122,000 people. Remember, it's only 40,000 people in the city of Annapolis.
Sorry, Director Simmons, she's talking about the South Villa, not Whole Cloth.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
a little earlier, a couple days.
Right. So I know the other one was garbled, and I'm glad that you're taking care of it with the vendor.
Okay. So
I'm
not-
just wondering about our process for the previous one.
So the previous one, I could get you information. I have the statistics on the one that we were talking about, but I do not have the statistics on that other one, so I can certainly look up the stats and get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Chief Simmons, we look forward to your update on March the 3rd regarding your meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Alderwoman Finlayson, did you have any questions or comments?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay. Any other updates on any other items? Chief, your call.
Well, I can talk about a little good news. I awarded the Distinguished Service Award to our CALEA team today, this afternoon. The recipients, and I'll have them to come and present in the future. The recipients was Kayla Ziegler, our civilian employee, Melanie Williamson, Officer First Class Melanie Williamson, and Lieutenant Hill O'Hurley. Those three received certificates and ribbons, thanking them for their hard work. We're pretty much rewriting every general order. As we go into this new cycle with CALEA, we're going to make sure that they are written in a way that automatically reference a CALEA standard. And then on the inspection side, there's been a wonderful job under the leadership of Hill O'Hurley to make sure that we're making sure that the standards set forth by CALEA, we have the proofs that are available with them. And then one more person I need to consider, and I just thought about it just now, is OEM, because again, Kevin Simmons was gracious enough to loan one of his individuals who's very efficient in accreditation for the ICS portion of it in the natural disaster or even terrorist issues when the entire city has to come together, fire service, police service, and OEM to make sure that we mitigate any catastrophic event. They've been helping us too with our standards, so I have to make sure I show my appreciation for them as well, Mary Kay, and anybody else from OEM who's been instrumental in helping us, because we did receive help from them. Also, what I want to do in the near future, I'm still not satisfied that we explain to the community how NABAs work. And there needs to be a public service announcement to let people know that the way we count crime has changed. When we talked about the rapes, I think virtually every rape that was reported, for example, in the city of Annapolis has been heterosexual under the old UCR model, which for some time, I'm talking about 80 years or better, we defined rape in Maryland based on the common law definition of rape, which was between a man and a woman. Only a woman could be raped. We know the society's changed drastically. And I want our LGBTQ plus partners to feel that they can receive justice if they are a victim of assault, if they're in the same sex relationship and they're sexually violated, then they can pick up the phone and call the police and make the report and seek justice as well in that community, because they are citizens and they're entitled to receive justice, just as the old definition of rape. And so we have to get that message out. I don't want to see any of our rape numbers increase, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I want to make sure that the public feels that whatever happens to them, regardless of who they are and their race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, that the same system, much like we do with the hot topic right now, and that's immigration. You know, it's the Annapolis Police Department's position, and supported by a new general order, we don't ask immigration status. So we want people of Latino descent to, whether they're here illegally or not legally, whatever that definition is as it's defined by Immigration Custom Enforcement, we want them to know if they are a victim of a crime in Annapolis, they can call us and seek justice without their immigration status being an issue. That they can call us and say, I've been a victim of a robbery or somebody stole my car, and we take the report like we would do any citizen and not separate. Well, we want the rapes to be the same way. Because you're in a same-sex relationship and somebody violates you, you don't have to suffer in silence. We can get you to help, whether it's through SITs and other venues, that we can get you the help that you need. And the Annapolis Police Department's here to support you. And so we can have a more accurate assessment of what goes on in that area of crime. And right now, I'm not sure that we are capturing all sexual violations or exploitations anywhere in Maryland, because I don't think that people who are not in this so-called traditional relationship of reporting the crimes when they're victimized. So I want to make sure we get that message out. So that's something that I'm going to be asking for help in making sure we get the right public service announcement out to let them know that they please, if you're a victim, call us, and we're going to be victim friendly when it comes to that population.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. Appreciate everything that you do. You all stay safe.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You have a good evening. Thank you. Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day.
We'll be in Ben's Drive tomorrow for Valentine's Day. We're doing a conflict resolution workshop tomorrow in Ben's Drive to help these young men to work through some of their issues. So that's how I'm gonna spend my Valentine's Day tomorrow.
So are you all going to be doing this in different communities?
Well, we were invited to do it in that community. I'm open to do it in different communities. The
Did
reason why
Ms. Phyllis ask you?
Tony Pratt.
Tony Pratt, okay.
And Will, her husband, Will Pratt,
Okay.
really. It was an invitation from Will, not Tony, but
Okay,
Will.
great, okay. And
They
you
just
can
wanna
bring
see
us
the
an
young-
update on that when you
Yeah,
come
and
back.
Robert Horn will be with me tomorrow. He's going to talk about reentry and offering some resources, so I'm glad I thought about that. So it'll
Okay.
be me and Robert Horn tomorrow.
Okay, great, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, next on the agenda is ID 3625, Office of Emergency Management, update.
Help me, help me.
Press all the buttons. And then boom, yours pops.
Right here.
Yep.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kevin Simmons. I am the emergency manager for the city of Annapolis. And I'm going to talk about Ward 4 substance use disorder and Ward 4 and the Food Friday program.
Okay, all right.
So here's the past 3 years with Ward 4. 2024 was the fourth highest overdose year in Ward 4 since we've been keeping records in 2015. So you see 2021, 29 overdoses, 2019, 28, 2020, 23, and 2024, 22. Ward 4 reported the most overdoses of any ward in 2024, followed by Ward 3 with 18, and then Ward 6 with 15. And Ward 6 has come down considerably year after year after year. Ward 4 had 2 fatal overdoses recorded in 2024. One of the things that is particularly good that's happened in Ward 4 is that Narcan uses were reported in 77% of the overdoses in Ward 4. So the fact that we're doing outreach, the fact that we have Narcan and other harm reduction materials and resources out there, they're starting to show its effect. Now, the locations of the overdoses are what you see on the screen. You had 12 on Newtown Drive, and if you remember with the police department's report, they talked about an open-air drug market near there. So you had 12 on Newtown Drive. Both fatals were on Newtown Drive. You had 3 on South Cherry Grove. You had 2 on Copeland Street, 2 on Newtown and Skipper's Lane, 1 on Newtown and Juliana, 1 on Island Creek Court, and 1 in South Villa. 68% of the overdoses in Ward 4 are along the Newtown Drive area. And that was talked a little bit about with the police report. Now, if you want to compare all of the wards in the city of Annapolis for 2024, you see it there. 22, well, I'll start in Ward 1, 7 in Ward 1, 9 in Ward 2, 18 in Ward 3, 22 Ward 4, Ward 5 had 2, Ward 6 had 15, Ward 7, 2, and Ward 8, 5, for a total of, I think it's 80. So the average overdose per ward in 2024 is 10, the mean is 7. So let's look at demographics by age, and let's look at demographics by race. The age groups that maintain the spread over for the past few years, with exception of 55, where we had seen a drop in overdoses. So only in Ward 4 that you've seen 55 plus that it's a drop. The rest of the city, it's increasing. So you see the age demographic of 25 to 34, 15, that was the most overdoses in that demographic.
What do you attribute that to, Chief?
It's a lot of things, a lot of stuff like that the chief talked about when he was here. It's just so many different reasons. So many different reasons. Some of them are early aggressive behavior that's unchecked. It's lack of parental supervision. It's people with academic problems and they just seek something somewhere else. It's undiagnosed mental health problems. It's peer drug use. It's just a drug availability and socioeconomic status. And I just want to reiterate what the chief said. They glorify, I mean, I see a lot of programs about drug dealers, and they're the heroes of the programs, you know, especially on cable TV. So they're kind of glorifying this life to a lot of young people who don't have a lot of hope. So the chief is spot on that. In Ward 4, African Americans still represent the largest group of overdoses. In 2024, 65% of all overdoses in the city were African American. So you have 15 African American, which is I think 65%, and then you have 7 white. So let's talk a little bit about fatalities. These are overdoses where folks died. In Ward 2, we had 5 fatalities in 2024. In Ward 3, we had 2. Ward 4, we had 2. Ward 5, we had 1. And Ward 6, we had 1. So, again, Ward 4, 2 fatal overdoses citywide, reported the lowest number of fatal overdoses since 2018. So the thing about the overdoses is, you know, we can get the drugs down and all, but it just seems like the fatals are always about 10% of the total amount of overdoses that we have in the city of Annapolis. Ward 4, all fatal overdoses, the middle pie chart. All fatal overdoses were African American. Citywide, African American represented the largest group of all fatal overdoses in 2024. However, in 2022 and 2023, the white population led the fatal overdoses. In Ward 4, the graph, both fatals were in the 25 to 34 age range. Citywide, historically, the city saw more individuals overdosing in the 45 plus age range, especially African American. So in Ward 4, there's less folks 55 plus overdosing, but citywide it's more. And I'll just skip over this. I just hit it just a little bit because this is the same information that I gave at the last presentation we had for Ward 1. Narcan is a big deal. We started out slow with Narcan. People adjusted to it. You know, they became more comfortable with the Good Samaritan laws, and now we have Narcan all over the place, and it's starting to show because a lot of our overdoses get Narcan. People are not afraid to do it. They're very aggressive with it. I'm pretty proud of this. This is the harm reduction vending machine. We had the first harm reduction vending machine in a community. We worked with the health department to get that done. If I had my druthers, I would want at least 3 or 4 more around the city of Annapolis. However, these are very expensive, and we've been in talks with the health department. Hopefully we can get more of these, but for right now, we just have the one in the Eastport Community Center.
What's the cost, Chief?
You know, I asked that at our last meeting. They could not give me that information. But what I'm understanding is it's pretty expensive. I think there were 6, so 5 of them are in the county and 1 of them are in the city of Annapolis.
So they couldn't give you any cost at all?
Nope, I asked Dr. Gedden directly.
Well, what's their finance department? It must be a number in there somewhere.
So hopefully next time we meet, they can give us that number. You know, they said that they would look into it for me. But, you know, pretty much the expense of these things prohibit them from putting them all over the place. And then you have to have them in particular places because it has to be a climate controlled place, has to be accessible, and et cetera. One thing I would say about the health department, They make sure that they have plenty of inventory in the harm reduction vending machines. And last week, for some reason, it got stuck, and nobody could get anything out. Once we called them, they came right out and solved the problem. So last time we were here for Ward 1, we talked about the 4 programs in the city of Annapolis. Naptown Anti-Dope, we have Your Life Ladders in the fire department, we have the APD SUD program, and then we have OD Free Annapolis. And that's the mayor's office, fire, police, and OEM. And we work very, very closely together. Again, last week I went over this. This is the police program, Annapolis Police Department Substance Use Disorder. It focuses on youth at risk and their hotspot areas. And the thing that I like about this is they have the officers and the community liaisons, and they follow up on overdose victims. That's pretty important. You know, not only with the victims, the family. So that's pretty important part of that program. And we have Officers Benson, and then Patty Norris runs that. Your Life Matters, Florida-based program. Fire department brought it here. It's been highly successful. A lot of firefighters participate in this. They focus on educating the community and preventing fatal overdoses. They do a lot of training. They do a lot of training with businesses, houses of worship, go over Good Samaritan laws, hands-only CPR. And the program coordinator now is Lieutenant Kenny White. Everybody knows about Naptown Anti-Dope Movement. They target high-risk hotspots and minority population. Again, the expungement program, that's pretty valuable, so people can have a quality of life with a do-over. They host community engagement sessions, campaigns, they engage community leaders, etc. And that's run out of the mayor's office. And everything falls under the umbrella of OD Free Annapolis. And that's run out of the Office of Emergency Management. We coordinate the 3 other programs. We go to bat for them during the budget. We have the OD Free website and dashboard that we keep up for stats, which is public facing. And we look at data trends and analysis on our programs and substance use disorder activity in the city of Annapolis. Any questions on that? I knew you would have a question.
Alderman O'Neill, do you have any questions?
No, but Alderman Finlayson does.
Oh, Alderwoman Finlayson.
I'll defer to the committee first.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, is there a correlation between and I'm referring to the vending machine that's in Eastport Harbor House. At one time, Ward 6 was very high in overdoses, and their numbers have dropped significantly. So is there a correlation, or can there be a tracing of the reduction in their numbers to this vending machine?
So in 2018, Ward 6 had 73 overdoses, right? And we had 80 of all last year. And what did they have this year?
2 fatals.
Yeah, they had, hold on for 1 second, please. So they had, in 2018, they had 73. This year, they had 15. So I attribute that to a bunch of different things. An aggressive outreach program that we've been doing there. They also have the wellness van or mobile that comes out of the health department, comes to your ward, and comes to Ward 6. So people have been feeling more comfortable with that. And then we have the harm reduction vending machine. So I think all of that stuff has made a difference. We did have a community liaison there. We since lost that person, but that person was helpful in giving us information to turn things around, you know.
They also have a health department sponsored program that is run by Bishop Palmer and Troy Stansberry, which I think is having a significant impact.
So it is, and what's important about that program is that once you get people away from abusing substances, then you have to work on quality of life stuff. You know, they have to, you know, maybe get, you know, their record expunged. You know, they need a life coach. They need a financial counselor because, you know, they've been in the game for so long, they don't even know how to deal with a household budget. So what's important about those type of programs is once you divert them, then they help with the quality of life to kind of keep them on that side and not have any recidivism where they go back. And that's my estimation on it.
Okay, I think we should just keep an eye on that program as well as the vending machines and all the other ancillary programs that are helping us in our communities to deal with the overdose problem. So, thank you.
Sir? Yes.
Any more questions?
No, I don't think so. We're moving on to Food Friday. Okay, great.
So Ward 4 Food Friday program. I think everybody knows a little bit about the Food Friday program. It provides boxes of fresh and canned fruits and vegetables, frozen meat, rice, pasta, and other non-perishable goods to residents in Annapolis that are suffering from a food deficit. We distribute 275 boxes of food every week to support 840 Annapolitans. Is that not right?
That is correct.
Okay. Rec and Parks, they provide a workspace to get this done. The food is provided by the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Alderwoman O'Neill is a volunteer program manager, and OEM provides administrative oversight of the program. And the program was started in my reception area at OEM with myself and Robert Eads years ago. And we started out with like 15 people. And now you got 275 boxes supporting 840 Annapolitans, and it all goes to Annapolitans. It doesn't go anywhere else.
Question, do you have that broken down by ward?
Yes.
Yeah, we do, but we're only talking about Ward 4 today.
Okay. I mean, is that, okay, got it. Thank you.
So Ward 4, okay, the total number of food boxes prepared for Ward 4 is 28. These food boxes benefit 28 families, 97 individuals, 14 seniors, 31 children. Most of the folks are on Copeland Street that receive 15, which is 53.57% of the deliveries in Ward 4. And they have 4 routes in Ward 4. Is that correct, Alderwoman?
It is, but I think the 28 is wrong. I think it's more than 28.
So
I will double check.
You're the expert. But I think it's reasonably close, would you say?
Yeah, pretty close, but I'm only wondering because with 4 routes, that would mean that there were only 6 on each. Give me 5 minutes and I'll get back to you.
So, and the bottom line about all of this is that the folks that have a food deficit in your ward are being taken care of. And, you know, if people are watching this and you have a serious problem with a food deficit, we want to hear from you and we want to help you. So this is on the map. This is a map of Ward 4, and here's the spots where the foods are delivered to, and just a pie chart of, you know, Copeland Street, South Villa, 3.6%, Newtown Drive, 7.1%, Bell, 3.6%, Brightwater, 7.1%. Wilton Court is 14.3. Roach Court is 3.6, and Heritage Court, 7.1. Any questions? So, I had a mass exodus from, just to switch gears a little bit, had a mass exodus, and some of my folks went on to bigger and brighter futures. So we just hired at least 3. We're trying to hire one more, a new staff, and I just want to introduce the staff to everybody. Starting on the left, that's Patrick Kamar. He's a emergency management planner. He has a bachelor's degree in political science from Susquehanna University. He started on December the 5th, and he was working for Maryland Department of Emergency Management before he came in the MJOC. We have Andrew Whittakin, emergency management planner. He has a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security with honors, University of New Hampshire. He started on December 19th. And then we have Kyle Lepkowski, emergency management grants coordinator. He has a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security and Justice Studies. He's also from the University of New Hampshire, where he played football, and he just started January 2nd. So, very, very bright, very, very capable folks here. And once we get them up to speed and get them a little experience, they're going to be right there where we need them to be.
Great. Any questions, Alderwoman O'Neill?
No, the only thing I'll say is it's 2 routes. The deliveries in Ward 4 consists of 2 separate drivers. And I have one driver that specifically wants one of the routes all of the time because she loves the people on her route.
Who might that be?
Jeannie.
Okay. So again, is that, if you have folks that we can help out, certainly let us know. And then what ward is next? So I can be
One.
prepared.
1.
No, you already did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
8.
did one.
8.
Ward 8?
8. And that
So-
should be March the 3rd. Is that right, Ms. Jackson?
And the thing about Food Friday is we service every ward.
I'm sorry.
The thing about Food Friday is that we have clients in every ward,
Oh, okay.
each one of them.
Good. Okay. Nobody's left out.
Nobody's left behind.
Good.
No. One thing I'll say about Food Fridays is that we do have very dedicated volunteers, and there have been several times where volunteers have either alerted us to either somebody that's not picking up their box or somebody that was in need in some other way. And other city departments, along with OEM, Office of Community Services, have been able to step in where we may not have known about that issue had we not been seeing them every Friday and forming a little bit of a relationship, which is an attest to the goodness of our volunteers, as well as people feeling comfortable with somebody coming to their house every week. Which is I think it's a really nice aspect of our city that not every city has, so.
And what's cool about the volunteers that they're all seniors. They're all seniors, and they show up every week, and they take this very, very, very seriously.
I'm not a senior.
So,
But I want to shout out to Alderwoman O'Neill, because when someone reports to her or she realizes something's amiss, she has called me a couple of times to let me know. Once when the person was hospitalized because the food hadn't been picked up, the dog seemed something strange, and on the other occasion, I believe someone had actually was deceased. So it's really a good service, a great service, going way beyond the call to duty. So thank you so much.
and we really appreciate the council supporting that in the budget, as you always do. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. And the last matter on the agenda, ID 3525, Annapolis Fire Department update. Deputy Chief Powell.
No, from the beginning. No, from the beginning. All the way to your right, at the top. At the top in the corner, the right corner. In the- No, go back to home. Right, oh, is this a slideshow? From the beginning, yep. Here we go, Eric.
Sorry about that. Good evening again. Nathan Powell, Deputy Chief of Operations for Annapolis Fire Department. We'll quick review tonight. We'll recap some overall citywide statistics for 2024 for Ms. Finlayson to hear, and then some specifics to Ward 4. So overall, in 2024, the City of Annapolis Fire Department responded to 13,626 incidents, of which those about 75% were EMS related, which is a normal trend for us. That stays pretty consistent between 72 and 76%. In Ward 4 last year, we responded 730 times. That was actually our second least busiest ward in the city, and that's combined for fire and EMS responses both. Only Ward 5 saw us less than Ward 4. So far this year, we've been in Ward 4 84 times, which is actually our least busiest up until February 11th, a couple days ago, we pulled these numbers. Ward 5 has seen us 87 times, so they're very close with Ward 4 and 5. This is a slide I wanted to review. I just want to make a point that the men and women of the Annapolis Fire Department work extremely hard for the city, for the residents, for the citizens to protect lives and property. And this slide here shows our fire loss dollar valuation for calendar year 2024 at $450,000 and change, which is down from over $2.5 million the year before. So in 24, we had a very good year. We're very fortunate. We had no major fires with high dollar valuation losses. Operational challenges associated with Ward 4. We really don't have very many challenges in Ward 4. It's primarily, as you know, primarily residential with some retail and light commercial occupancies. We're continually monitoring the status of the Crystal Springs Farm project and how that may impact us in the future once it becomes shovel ready and gets underway. But other than that, we are fortunate. We don't have too many challenges. The streets are all readily accessible. Forest Drive traffic can be a challenge, but it's generally is not problematic for us. I'll just touch on our strategic planning process that my counterpart, Deputy Chief Lopez, is leading. The last time the city fire department undertook a strategic plan was 21 years ago now, in 2004. So we have reached out to the Center for Public Safety Excellence and are using a model that they provided. We've established quite a large committee. We had a lot of response and people who wanted to participate, and we've been able to establish a great cross section of our department, both in years of experience, male, female, ethnic backgrounds, and it's truly a great cross section of our organization. We're preparing some internal and external stakeholder surveys we hope to get out in March, and our goal is to have a draft to the fire chief of this document by September. And this will provide us with some short, medium, and long-term planning goals as an organization and what direction we want to sail our ship, and charts a channel for us to go. So I'll be the quick and easy guy tonight. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I have one question for you, and maybe you can't answer it, and it's a little bit off topic, but it is on topic. So I happened to meet a Annapolis firefighter a couple of weeks ago, And when I met that person, they told me that they were currently in school for further training. When we have firefighters like that in school for further training, are they signing a commitment to stay with us after that training, or?
So in our initial onboarding process, yes, there is a commitment for the financial investment we make into them for their initial fire academy training. I believe it's and I can follow up, but I'm 90% sure it's a 5-year commitment. So if they leave within that 5 years, it's a prorated dollar value they would pay back to us. We have 2 firefighters now who are in paramedic school to become advanced life support paramedics, and they just started in January this semester. And both of those individuals are extremely invested in our organization. I don't know, though, about the commitment letters for them for the paramedic school,
Okay.
but I can find out and get back to you.
They did not indicate that they were leaving, but it brought up a conversation.
We hope not. We hope not. We've been very fortunate. A lot of our counterparts in the region are struggling to maintain good staffing numbers. We currently have 4 firefighter vacancies, but we have 4 persons who have tentatively accepted job offers for a fire academy to start February 27th in Anne Arundel County.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, it was off topic, but
That's okay.
on my mind.
All good.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
I would just like to say to all 3 departments, thank you for a job well done. I'm close to all of you, and I feel like I keep up with what's going on. And when I have issues, which isn't often, you respond immediately. So I feel like I'm being well taken care of, and by I mean Ward 4. So I just want to say thank you, and our numbers speak to how well we're being cared for in all departments. So kudos to the departments for the job that you're doing, and thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to hear all of this again. I have a lot of it, but it's good to hear it. And more importantly, it's great for the community to hear how well our departments are doing. So just thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure I'll speak for my counterparts that we certainly appreciate the support of the entire council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other departments, if there's anything they've forgotten, at this point, you can certainly come to the desk, and if you want to add something that you need to add. Okay, going once, going twice. All right. I think we've reached I think we've reached the end of our meeting.
Right, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? So moved? Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It is 7:47.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't have this.